When filming outdoors, you're basically in a one-on-one fisticuffs with Mother Nature, battling the elements. The wind, the weather, the sound, the sun, and most of all, the sun. But with a few simple tricks, you can fight back by arming yourself with knowledge. When shooting outdoors, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind, namely the time of day that you're shooting and the sun's path throughout the day. In the best case scenario, you're shooting at sunset on a beach somewhere in Southern California when the sun is lowest in the sky and its intensity is reduced, creating a more pleasing contrast ratio on your subject. But today, we're in my backyard in Nashville, Tennessee at high noon. Probably the worst case scenario. The reason we're shooting in such crappy conditions is because I want to show you that even under the worst case scenario, you can still get a beautiful image. All right, let's jump in. There are three basic tools that you can use to help control the light when you're shooting in outdoor scenarios. A diffusion, which is used to soften the light, a reflector or bounce card, which is used to direct the light, and a neg fill, which is used to subtract the light. Let's start by adding overhead diffusion. So diffusion changes the quality of the light, or in other words, it takes a hard source of light like the sun and it makes it softer and more pleasing. The reason you want to do this is because hard light can often accentuate the imperfections in your subject's skin. Wrinkles, pockmarks, scars, anything like that. It'll almost erase those because you don't have a hard source which creates dark shadows in those imperfections. Next, let's add our bounce fill. A bounce fill will add to the quantity or the amount of light that you're adding onto your subject. One of the main reasons that you want to add a little extra in these scenarios is because when you add an overhead diffusion, you're cutting the amount of light on your subject, which makes them a little bit darker and your background a little bit brighter. And it sort of looks unnatural. It looks like you've modified the image in some way, and your unconscious brain just kind of picks up that something's not right here.
Wait a minute.
The bounce fill also acts as your key light, providing the main source of light on your subject's face and drawing the viewer's attention to your subject. Last, let's add our neg fill. A neg fill or negative fill is basically a black card or piece of fabric that's used to create contrast in the frame. In my opinion, a neg fill is sort of the secret sauce to really creating a cinematic image when shooting outdoors. There are three main things that we know the human eye is drawn to: motion, light, and contrast. So adding a touch of contrast to your subject in the frame really works to draw in your viewer's eyes and keep them from getting distracted by anything in the background. Now, even though we used industry standard tools to create this beautiful image, I want to go over a couple of tricks that you can do with little to no budget at all. If you find yourself shooting outdoors with nothing but your trusty camera, you can put your subject in the shade of a tree to get the direct sunlight off your subject's face. And if you can find a big enough tree, you can even use the trunk as a makeshift neg fill to add a bit of contrast to your subject's face. Another great option is to simply put the sun behind your subject. This creates a rim light around your subject, which helps to separate them from your background. And again, it keeps the direct sunlight off their face. If you're wanting to take your outdoor filmmaking to the next level, but you're not ready to spend the cash on some of these industry tools, I've got some good news for you. We can create nearly the same exact look using some cheap materials from your local hardware store. So let's go take a trip. Bounce cards can be created out of these cheap foam insulation boards and some gaff tape. They come in these 4-foot by 8-foot sections, and they're only about $13 or so. Simply cut these in half so you have a 4-foot by 4-foot board. Put gaff tape around the edges to prevent that foam from flaking off everywhere. For diffusion, you can use this plastic sheeting that comes in these big rolls. It's actually like painter's drop cloth, that plastic sheet that you lay down so you don't get paint all over your floor when you're painting your walls. So simply roll out these sheets, cut it to your desired length, and that's your diffusion. You can even double or triple the layers of this so that you get even softer qualities of light. One note is that some of these sheets can be pretty noisy. They can kind of sound almost like a grocery bag. So if you're gonna be outdoors on a windy day, just keep that in mind, or make sure that you get one that isn't very noisy. Now that you're an expert at battling the elements, go out and capture some beautiful images. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and let us know in the comments what sort of tips you want to see in our next video. Is my hands doing weird things? I'm just like doing this at one point. Okay.
Hey, high five.
Nope, Liam.